Boys and girls, we're back at it again this week down in the basement. Still, weather's getting better here in Ohio, but not by much. So, probably gonna be a couple more of these videos, and it's not gonna be what I originally said. So, let's get into it. So, the last video, we were down here in the basement. I told you guys we were going to build this. I wanted to build this El Camino and make it into a cool little truck. But since I said that, a buddy of mine decided he no longer wanted his micros, or his ax24s, and I bought them. And, well, some things came with them. Specifically, 3 of these Mofo RC Black Label 2.0 servos. And, well, as you guys will remember, we have a Kyosho that needs a new servo. Problem is, I don't want to use this servo in this truck because, well, I don't know if I want to keep this, and, well, I definitely wouldn't mind keeping these really nice servos. So, that's where our little mini build from a few videos ago, or a lot of videos ago at this rate, from back when the ax24 comes into play, and why it's sitting over here on the shelf. This truck really hasn't changed much since that video when they first had come out, and I did the carbon fiber chassis rails on it, the brass skid, the brass diff cover, axle, the +4 axle shafts with the 5-gram weights front and rear. Well, I had originally put a solid rear axle on the back of it and decided I didn't like it, and I put the steering rear axle back on it and put +4 shafts in it as well. I have since today, actually, and this is why we're making this video, I put one of the Mofo RC servos on this truck because, well, I want the stock servo to use in the Mini Z, because that stock servo is going to be plenty for that truck, and that will allow us to fix that. But there's no point in just putting one of these servos in this truck. It needs 2 better ones, because it doesn't steer bad with the stock servos and the taller tires and the extra weight, but it could definitely steer better. And the only reason it doesn't steer bad is because it has 4-wheel steer. So we're going to solve that problem today. We're going to upgrade the servos, and along with that, we're going to upgrade the servo mounts on it, which I already did that on the front axle. We're going to do that on the back axle yet. We're going to change out the wheels and tires. We're going to go with this set of RC 4-wheel drive wagon wheels. I'm going to show you what a lot of people do to these, but not everyone probably does. We're going to reverse these to give them a deeper dish to push the wheel and tire out farther. And we're going to swap the tires to something a little different. I've had these comp tires laying around. They're literally labeled mud terrain comp tires. I don't know what brand they are. I don't know much about them. I know they're obviously a pin style tire. They actually have a foam inside of them. So we're going to try running these on this truck because they're slightly taller than what's on it already. And I'm curious to how these are going to do because they've been laying around. I got them as part of another trade deal probably going on well over a year ago now. And think it's finally time to do something with them. So we're going to get those mounted. We're going to get this servo mounted. Maybe I'll dig around. Maybe I got some extra parts or something. Maybe we can upgrade a motor or something too while we're at it. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think I have any laying around. But maybe I can pull a better motor out of another truck and put in it. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge here in a little bit too. So, but let's go ahead and get started. I think we're going to start with the tedious part first and get those wheels and tires mounted up, because that's going to be the part that's going to take the longest. I'll kind of show you how I'm doing one, and then we'll just throw it into the, you know, this, yeah. We'll throw it into the zoomy camera mode and speed through the rest of the other three. Time-lapse. Time-lapse mode. That's the word I was forgetting. It's going to be a night. But, alright, so here's how these wheels normally go together. See this right here is the face of the wheel. Screws are going through it. And back here, it's a much deeper dish. And this is where the hub is and everything. Well, obviously, as you guys can tell, that little hub inside of there comes apart. And the face of the wheel is actually just as flat as the inside of the wheel. So it makes these kind of reversible. Now, RC four-wheel drive does not sell them that way and tell you that you can do that. It's just something guys have picked up since they came out, and it's kind of become the common thing to do with them, because the SCX24, if it suffers from anything, its width. It could always stand to be just a touch wider until you get too crazy, and then you get too wide, which still takes a lot to get to that point. That really depends on your course, and if you're building your own course, you can kind of build it to the width of your truck. But yeah, so this ends up becoming a fairly common thing for a lot of guys to do, where now instead of that being the face of the wheel and it being looking that shallow, that's now the face of the wheel, and the wheel is now much deeper. So the tricky part is, what I always try to do when I'm putting these wheels together is I find the screw hole that is in the center of one of the D slots. Because if you find it, the one that's in the center, that's lined up perfectly at the center of the D slot, then all you gotta do is find the accompanying one that also lines up perfectly with the center of a D slot. And when you line those two up, your two wheel halves are now lined up as well. So all we're going to do is take our hub, put our hub getting the hub and everything lined up and putting the first screw in is the most tedious part of this entire job, because it is a bit of a pain, because you're holding essentially like 3 parts all together at the same time, 4 parts together all at the same time, and none of it exactly wants to get along very well. I put my screw into the wrong screw hole, so I didn't even follow what I told you guys I do. That's handy. There we go. Now we'll put that one there. Now I will say with these particular ones, this isn't the best look for them, because this face is a much more highly polished surface than the inside of the wheel is. So this does look a little bit better with the white and black faces, but it's also going on a little comp truck, so, or comp style truck I should say, because I don't actually comp. So this first screw is always the toughest. Let me see here if I've got a longer screw that'll fit into this thing. Hey, there we go. Alright, so what we're going to do is, this is kind of the cheater way of putting these together. That is to use a longer screw for the first one. So now what we can do is get everything lined up and started with this one screw. We can use it to kind of start pulling everything together, at least semi-tightly. Tight enough to where we can get the shorter screws to start. See, now that one I got threaded in easy, and now what that'll allow me to do is go through with the little ones and get the little ones actually started. Now this is a task I could use my little hand drill for, and that does help, but I've also stripped out screws doing that on these. So I try not to do that anymore, because it's easy enough to strip these things when you're doing it by hand, let alone with a power drill. So now that we got all those ones in and started, we'll go ahead and remove our long one, because we're going to need this back for another one, and it looks different, so that wouldn't be as good of a look. Go ahead and get our handle put on our wrench here. Now, something you got to be careful with when you're building these, and this does tend to be more of a 1/10 scale truck problem than a 1/24. You have to watch and make sure the bead stays seated in the wheel. RC four-wheel drive wheels, especially the 1/10s, don't necessarily like playing with non-RC four-wheel drive tires, so you'll start running into problems with the beads of other tires being thicker than an RC four-wheel drive bead, and the bead getting physically pushed out of the wagon wheels, specifically the wagon wheel bead locks, and not wanting to stay together. Alright, there's our first tire done. So we'll go ahead and throw it in time lapse, or as I called it earlier, zoomy camera mode, and we'll get the other three knocked out quick, and then we'll move on to the servo and getting these things mounted. And this might be a fairly quick video, and then we're going to do a little, because we've seen in a video how this thing drove before. I'm curious to see how good these tires are, and how good these servos are, because like I said, I didn't buy them, a buddy bought them, and I mean, they've got some decent specs. Let's see, operating speed. Here, I'm just going to show you guys this stuff. Give you a minute to read it, because that takes me forever to read. But I mean, with a standard 2S battery, a 7.4 volt, it's got 122 ounce-inches of torque, and that is a lot of torque for one of these little trucks, as far as the servo goes. So now, with that being said, this servo is pretty substantially bigger than the stock servo. It's the same width, so it would fit into a standard width servo mount, but with the way the back of the servo mounts are captured, sorry guys, camera cut out, but with the way the back of the standard servo mounts are captured, this servo won't fit in them. So you really kind of have to run something like this Mofo RC mount, which gives you some adjustability. It also gives you the option for 4-link and the 3-link if you do the mod like most of us do. So this appears to be brass, so it's going to give you a little extra weight on the axle as well. So yeah, this right here I think is going to be the killer upgrade for the truck overall, because like I said, I've taken this thing out a few places, and you get it twisted up on some rocks, you do start having issues with steering, and I do not think it will have any issues with steering after this. And these, if I remember right, I think they're like $70 a piece, I think. I would have to look them up. Like I said, I didn't buy them. A buddy bought them. He was going to run them in all 3 of his SCX24s, and he found out that they don't work very well in a deadbolt. The front deadbolt length being so short and this being so long, before you get any up travel, the back of this servo actually hits the ESC mount on a deadbolt. Now that doesn't look like it'd be a problem on any other truck, because all the rest of the trucks have a little bit longer front end, but specifically on the deadbolt that he bought it for, that he actually bought 2 of them for a pair of them, that was a big problem, and that was just kind of a I'm done, we're not doing this anymore. So I ended up with everything. So, which we're not going to talk about what I paid for those, because they were not cheap trucks. So, all right, enough yapping. Let's throw it in time lapse and get these wheels and tires done. There's all 4 of those mounted up and ready to go. So the next thing we're going to go ahead and do is this thing over here, body off of it. We're going to get that servo and servo mount off, and then get this servo, this steering link, and this servo mount on it, and go from there. So I do think I have a little bit of work to do in the back as well when I get the wheels and tires off, because I didn't put these in the rear before, because I used a different set of hexes. I used these ones, and these hexes I have found only like to work on extended axle shafts. I think they'd honestly work best on the rear of a truck, because the rear has the bearing captured versus a steering axle doesn't, and that's honestly causing me some issues on these. So, matter of fact, we might just see if we have a set of the regular +5 or the 5 gram weights to throw on there instead, and solve that problem completely, because I don't even know if these will fit with those. It doesn't look like it. I don't think there's enough room, but I know the 5 gram weights do, because that's what I'm running on the front. So we're gonna grab 2 of those, and because I know I have some over there on the shelf, I do believe. Matter of fact, I'm gonna look. I was correct. I do have some. So we're gonna put those on, take these off, put on some regular wheel hexes, get all that done. All right, back to time lapse. after the little bit of tinkering you guys seen on camera, and just a hair bit off camera, because so I lengthened the rear of this, and when I did that with the old servo, it was fine because the servo was shorter, the axle could be tilted in a little bit, and it wasn't that big a deal. On this one though, with this servo being longer now, basically at the bottom end, at full droop, which is kind of where it likes to sit when it was, well, it wasn't even full droop, it was about half droop, the servo was sitting on the body mount. So there was no clearance for it to actually move, and it didn't like the flex at all. It actually killed about 2/3 of the flex. I could get the front to flex completely out, but I could only get the rear to flex about half of what it does right now. So I swapped to some slightly longer upper links, which now tilted it forward, which arguably isn't great for steering either, but it'll do for now. Eventually I'll find the right link combination to make the rear longer but not have such weird servo angles. I might try deadbolt lowers. Maybe that'll be the trick. I don't know. I haven't tried those yet because that's pushing the axle a long way back from where it was originally. And then now with the reversed wagon wheels, it's setting wider than it was. It's got a much stronger servo front and rear. Let's throw a battery in it and you guys can see just how effortlessly this thing actually moves these wheels and tires now. Not that it really struggled that much before, I guess, but it was stock to modded. You could definitely tell a difference on like rock. So to me, this is noticeable. On camera it might not be. Just the front, all four, and if you notice, you don't even hear it right now. I have to figure out, I gotta get a tap or something and fix this, because this is not helping steering at all. It gets part way turned there and it locks up because it's hitting there. So it's fine the other way, but as you can tell, the back is definitely turning more than the front, which is fine because it's still, I mean, it still turns really well. But these are gonna work great. I'm curious to see how these tires act back there. So let's stop talking. Oh, something else I want to try too and see if I can notice a difference here. Hang on. Because these Mofo RC Black Label servos weren't the only Mofo things that came with this. Or came with that deal. So, let's see here. The stock battery that would have been in this is 350 milliamp hours. It's a 2S, 7.4 volt, 30C rating. The batteries that I have that came from my buddy that I got the servos from are 450 milliamp hours, 30C discharge, max 60C. So these are a bit better of a battery, I do believe. Yeah, because it doesn't give any more info on these than what's on there. So it doesn't give their max. But this battery should be good for a little extra oomph if it fits in this chassis. It just barely does. So All right. Let's get it back on the course and see how it does. So I gotta say, I really like the Mofo servos. They work really well. The rest of the truck could use some tweaking. The tires aren't too bad. It could honestly use a little taller tire yet, which is crazy. I'm going to play at the length some more on it. And if you guys couldn't tell, it needs a stronger motor. And I need to do something about the front servo horn. Because, well, the plastic servo horn sucks. So, yeah. So those are going to be the next couple things we play with. Is I'm going to try to fix that servo horn, try to readjust the rear links a little bit more, and a new motor. That's going to be the next steps for this truck. But I got to say, overall, I'm pretty happy with how that worked, given there was no plan to this. These servos weren't bought for this truck. These wheels and tires weren't bought for this, and everything just works really well. Now it's getting to the point with the extra weight of the servos, the extra weight of the servo mounts, the brass that's on it, the taller tires, the wider axle shafts, and everything it's got going on now. The stock motor is just not happy with it, even with a fully charged battery. So those are going to be the next things we're going to upgrade. I've also got Mofo 450 milliamp hour batteries, but unfortunately I didn't have them charged in time for the video, which was my own fault for not throwing them on the charger sooner, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, but I think that's going to be it for this video. Kind of short, simple, sweet, just to kind of get something done. And we'll see you guys next time. I think next time we're going to try to do a body swap on something. I don't know what yet. The weather's getting close to being good enough to where I could probably start going back out to the garage, but I have a few more little RC projects I want to dive into, and that's keeping me motivated to make videos. So we're going to keep going down that path for a little bit and then get back on the MG, hopefully in probably another like 2 weeks, which with the way I've been posting videos might mean about another month for you guys. I don't know. We'll see how video posting goes. I've kind of slowed down and taken a little bit of a break because I was starting to get unmotivated because I wasn't getting as much work done on things as I wanted, and then the weather hit, and I just, yeah, it was bad. So, but I'm starting to get back in the swing of things again, so we're going to start knocking out some videos, and Axial always makes for some easy videos. Yeah. All right. So until next time, guys, have a good one. Hope you enjoyed. You'll probably definitely be seeing the ax24 again sometime soon. This has turned into more of a build than I had originally intended for it. And now I kind of want to finish it. So, yeah. All right. See you guys then. Have a good one. Bye. Damn it.